welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a brand new brewer for me to review. I've never tried one of their beers before. This is one that I did get from Tavour. It is by a brewery called Casita Brewing Company. They are based in Wilson, North Carolina. And today's beer in question is called Bourbon Barrel Aged Nü-tella. It's an Imperial Stout that clocks in at 13% ABV. This specific beer was aged for 14 months in 8-year-old Elijah Craig barrels, and it's also got added vanilla, cacao nibs, and hazelnut coffee. So I see where they're going with this naming convention. Very, very tasty sounding beer. In terms of label art, it's just got a nice, very clean design. Black label, gold foil, says Nü-tella, has some hazelnuts on it. Very clean design that gets the message across. So this one does have a wax dip. So as always, the pointy end of our trusty bottle opener here, we're just going to score all the way through that wax underneath the edge of the cap to give us a nice spot for gripping. Little bits off there first, and yep, we got it on the first try. Now we're just gonna clean up the edge in case there's some little small pieces of wax that might fall in. So we've got our trusty stout glass. Get this one poured right in. Oh, very dark, very, very thick. Very dark and thick stout here. It's 13%. I'm not surprised. But that is a lovely, lovely looking beer. Okay, so I probably could have been a bit more aggressive with my pour to help this head out. But what I can already tell you before I even get right up over it is massive aromas coming off of this thing. So we are going to get right up on the head first. Yeah, I mean, it's just huge. You can really smell the coffee and the hazelnut behind in that coffee. There's a slight sweetness coming off of this beer, though. It doesn't mention lactose, so I don't expect this to be a sweet beer. And you can really, really smell the barrel aging on this. So this combination of coffee and bourbon and hazelnut just smells absolutely amazing. And yeah, they also have cacao nibs in here. Yes, they also have vanilla. The vanilla I'm smelling could be coming from the added vanilla itself, or it could be one of just the natural aromatic compounds coming off of that bourbon barrel aging process. But either way, it's very, very pungent, this aroma, and it smells absolutely fantastic. Yeah, visually, as you would expect, it is pitch black. It's a 13% ABV Imperial Stout. So this looks great. It smells great. Head is what it is. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I got the information out of it that I needed. So we're just going to jump right in and see what this one's about. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. What a delicious beer. Oh, man. That is absolutely incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Okay, so if you've watched this channel for a while, you know that I absolutely love hazelnut, and I love it in a beer. And particularly in a big stout, it just works very, very well. This is one of the most hazelnut-forward beers I've ever had, and it is just absolutely delicious. And yes, it is hazelnut coffee, but both of those flavors are really distinct, and they're both very big and bold. But before we even get into this ridiculously crazy good flavor profile, let's talk weight and texture. So this is 13%, and this feels like a heavy beer when you swallow it. It's got real substance behind it. This is not light. This is gonna be a slow sipper. In terms of mouthfeel, this one doesn't get creamy, it doesn't get silky, it doesn't get foamy, but you can really feel the resistance of this. Texturally and weight-wise, it absolutely feels like a big 13% Imperial Stout. Spot on. Yeah, what you would expect, you get. Now for this flavor profile, the first immediate thing, and just to point out how pungent this hazelnut is in this beer, this has been aged for 14 months in bourbon barrels, and the first thing that I got up front was that hazelnut. So yeah, they were not shy about the volume of this hazelnut coffee they put in here, and it's really big and bold. So the hazelnut comes through crystal clearly, coffee comes through very, very nice. It tastes to me like It's maybe a medium dark roast. It doesn't taste super roasty, but it's very nice and distinctly tastes of coffee. In terms of the bourbon barrel, crystal clear. As you would expect, it sat in there for 14 months, so yes, tons of notes of spirit barrel aging, really nice, rich vanilla undercurrent, and just as with the aroma that easily could be coming off of the bourbon itself, that is also a very common flavor compound that you would find in bourbon. So yeah, the addition of this vanilla, I think is a smart play. Whether or not they would have gotten it on the aroma and in the flavor profile without it, it definitely helps to accentuate and add just another underpinning to that compound in this beer, and it's absolutely delicious. In terms of the cacao, I'm gonna have to dig on second sip on that because there's so many big, bold, pungent upfront flavors. Really, I'm expecting that might be getting muddled underneath the kind of coffee undertone, as well as the natural roastiness of the underlying malt bill itself. But on this first sip, this is absolutely incredible. Just big hazelnut pungency. I absolutely love it. Take two, we shall commence. Big, bold hazelnut right up front, immediately paired with bourbon barrel, and that coffee comes right through. And yeah, you can get the underlying roasty sensation coming off of the malt bill. It tastes distinctly like roasted malt and not like it's coming out from underneath the coffee, but the cacao nibs are in here. It's a nice little extra treat. They're not really super noticeable on the front. You kind of have to let that intensity of the flavor profile hit its peak and then plateau a little bit. And that's when you can really find it. And it does sit below the intensity of the coffee. It kind of matches part for part with the intensity of the roasty malt bill that I'm tasting. So yeah, the moral of the story is, yes, everything that they did to this beer, you can very clearly pick out in this beer. You just get different elements of these layering of flavors at different points in the beer drinking experience. It's hazelnut, coffee, bourbon up front. Once that settles down a little bit, that's when you can really pick out that malt bill and the cacao. Very nice. This is an extremely well-balanced beer. It's got these big, bold, pungent flavors, just like in the aroma. But when you have something this big, to let everything have its own voice, that is a well-balanced beer indeed. And it's just a delicious combination of ingredients. So let's talk about the finish. The finish on this beer, as you may expect, is quite long. And it's two-pronged on this one. It's a combination of the barrel, which you would typically expect for any Imperial Stout at 13% that's been aged for 14 months. But I come back to, again, the intensity of the hazelnut on this beer. That hazelnut lingers even more intensely than the bourbon. That is how hazelnut forward this beer is, and I think it is just beautifully done and delicious for it. Guys, this is just another winner in a long line of really excellent beers I've had as of late. This one is absolutely delicious. I'm going to take my time, sip on this, come up with my scores. When we come back, we will get this one ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was Casita Brewing Company's Bourbon Barrel Aged Nü-tella, an Imperial Stout clocking in at 13% ABV. Casita Brewing Company is based in Wilson, North Carolina. This specific beer was aged in 8-year-old Elijah Craig bourbon barrels for 14 months. Then they added vanilla, cacao, and hazelnut coffee. And it's worth mentioning, just in case you think I've gone crazy, I'm saying Nü-tella instead of Nü-tella, as we would pronounce the hazelnut flavored spread, because obviously for copyright reasons, they had to split the word in half. It's hard to see on the label, but if you check it in on Untappd, you will see it. It's new, and it has an umlaut over the U. That's the two dots above the U, such as in the German language, dash tella. So Nü-tella, not Nutella. They don't want to get sued. I don't blame them. So, regardless, before we jump into the scores, I apologize. I do have some schmutz on my shirt. That's just flour. In between getting this beer sipped and finished, it's pizza night, so I'm making a dough. I cook everything from scratch. So I apologize that my shirt's a little dirty, but we'll get through this review regardless. So this beer, absolutely fantastic. I have had immense luck with the last, I mean, it feels like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 beers in a row have just been absolutely world-class examples of what they are. And this was just another great beer in a long line of really great beers that I've reviewed to date. First beer from a new brewer to me, and what a great first exposure, first experience. I mean, I will absolutely keep my eyes out for more beers from Casita. And in the coming few weeks, I'm going to finally be out of Florida, up in North Carolina, in the Nashville area. So I'm guessing maybe I'll have a little bit better time getting my hands on their beers. Maybe I'll take a road trip, visit the brewer. I'm not sure exactly where Wilson is, but I will definitely be checking them out. This beer was just absolutely incredible, guys. It had it all: aroma, flavor profile, body, mouthfeel, the full Monty. This was just a great, great beer. Indeed, there's only a solitary category where it did not get a perfect score. You could probably already guess, and yes, it's the head and retention. Look, it is what it is. I perhaps could have gotten a little bit different result if I had gone super aggressive down the glass. But this one was extremely active with carbonation. The instant you started to pour it, it was just rushing and collapsing that head before it really ever had a chance to form. It did barely. It was there for maybe 10, 15 seconds and almost completely gone thereafter. So really, this was very much on the low end of the spectrum. It is what it is. I'm not taking it as a knock, but I have to rate it how I experienced it. Head and retention does get a 2 out of 10, but it did get a perfect 10 out of 10 in the remaining 9 categories. That's aroma, taste, body, mouthfeel, finish, appearance, balance, feeling, and intangible, my subjective thoughts category, and finally, example of style. So Casita Brewing Company's bourbon barrel-aged Nü-tella does get a 92 out of 100. So, okay, it didn't get a perfect score in head and retention. It is what it is, but guys, look, this is top-notch Imperial Stout territory right here, especially if you, as I, really, really enjoy hazelnut in beers and in big dark beers in particular. This is one that you've got to do whatever you've got to do to try to get your hands on this. This is the only time I've ever seen this brewer pop up on Tavour, and they did make a big to-do about what this beer was and who this brewer was. I haven't seen any others pop up, so I don't know if maybe they're a smaller volume and they can only get specific beers, specific cases, but man alive, this beer was absolutely incredible, just packed with flavor, packed with aroma, perfect body and mouthfeel, just a long, lingering, wonderful finish, balanced perfection. I mean, there was nothing about this beer I would alter. Head and retention aside, and look, I'm pouring it at home into a glass. I guarantee you, although I doubt they would put this on a tap, but if they did, it would pull just like a normal stout would off of any well set up draft system. So guys, this is about as good as it gets. If this lineup of ingredients and the barrel aging tickles your fancy, I do highly recommend it. This is one of the best stouts I've had in quite a while. That hazelnut in particular just blew my socks off. I absolutely love it. I will be keeping my eyes peeled for more releases from Casita. Folks, that is today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can stay in the loop when our videos go live. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.